morning, everybody. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Sarah Mavius. I am Head of Returners and Career Transition at FDM, and I've been working with returners particularly for the last 8 years. I am a returner myself, so I'd had a career break. Prior to that, I'd had sort of 18 years in financial services, and actually came back to FDM. They just launched their Returners Programme with a view to going back into financial services. That's my background. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I enjoyed doing. But actually on my journey through, the programme was really, really small. And I just thought it was a brilliant initiative. There's all those talented people out there really struggling to get back in after a career break. And it's kind of evolved over the last years, become very successful. Companies really, really like it. So it's you know, supporting those experienced professionals either in reskilling and upskilling and carrying on their journeys. But that was my journey back in, and actually I came back into FDM. I was in my 50s, so you know, fall into that older worker category as well. So many different badges for me. So that's a little bit about me. If like me, you've never heard about FDM, I'm going to sort of just talk you through FDM today, a little bit about what we do and how we do it. I don't want to do death by PowerPoint. I definitely would like you to ask questions as we go through. So please do just sort of shout out. I would prefer it to be more conversational, but I'll quickly kind of cover off, you know, who FDM are, about the programme, some of our returners, how we support people, the skills lab where we do a lot of our upskilling and all of upskilling and mentoring and coaching, and the types of businesses we work with, and then obviously any questions at the end. But like I said, please do ask your questions as we go through. So FDM a global business. I had never heard of them, but they're actually in all parts of the globe right now and supporting consultants. We work with underrepresented groups, I guess, is the sort of the main value. So early talents, graduates coming in, they're the biggest part of our business. Returners, obviously experienced people having had a career break, and ex-forces, helping people transition. They, again, that word, transferable skills, they very much fall into the groups of people that we support. So ex-graduates 30 years ago, started in an attic in Brighton, been working with graduates all that time. Ex-forces around 11 years now, and returners, the sort of the junior member of the group, but now going for 8 years, so not so young anymore. And these are the stats. I won't talk you through them all. So let's get on to more interesting things. These are the places that we are. So obviously 3 sites, well, 4 sites. Brighton's the kind of admin site, but 4 sort of active sales sites in the UK, and then around APAC, North America, and EMEA. So diversity and inclusion is a really big part of what we do, and it's very important to all of us that work there. These are the stats. This is for the whole population, so this includes the grads as well, which obviously the bigger part of the business. But on the returners, I'll come to those, how we support those stats afterwards. So the way we do it, certainly we have a skills lab, so that's where we do all of our upskilling, reskilling, and whilst people are with us, in terms of keeping their skills fresh, whether we're working on assignment with our clients, that's where we do all of that. And then depending on your skill set will depend which practice you go into, and I can kind of come on to that a little bit later, but very much, you know, tailored as a supportive journey all the way through. Why would you work with FDM? So my team, we have a dedicated team to support people all the way through. All of our coaching is online, and the way we work is we employ you permanently as an FDM consultant, and then you'll work with our clients on site. Whilst you're on site, you will kind of continue your career development. So obviously a lot of things change and evolve whilst you're working with a client, particularly in tech. So we make sure that we're keeping you up to date whilst you're there. And the other reason a lot of people work with us, or people would come to us, is we have big clients, a lot of very, very big global and national brands. So we're a very good foot in the door, if you like, if you're making that transition or coming back after a career break. these are the stats around the programme. One of the stats on here is around our over 50. That's not on here is around our over 50s. So over 40% of our population have joined us 50 plus. I certainly have a number of people 60 plus who've either started a second career or have continued on following a break along the lines of their previous experience. What we're looking for a career break, less so on the career transition or career changes, but on the returners side, a career break of 1 or more years. I've got people who've had a 20-year career break and have come back really successfully. And a lot of that is around transferable skills, the skills that you might acquire whilst you're not doing the typical corporate job. We certainly recognise life and that evolving journeys that helps people in terms of what they've done in their career break. A lot of people discount that. You shouldn't. Transferable skills being key. And we are looking for that full-time role. We don't have part-time roles as a rule. Our clients aren't looking for that. They're coming to us more for the sort of 5 days a week, not in the office, a lot of hybrid and a commutable distance. Our consultants aren't flying around the country. Certainly, and the mature ones, the grads are a little bit more, but we don't expect returners or career transitioners to be moving around. And background, it really is around that transferable. So these are some of the skills that you might have to come into business and tech. But certainly, you know, we've worked with many different backgrounds and leveraged people into a tech role. So I've had people with marketing backgrounds who've then been able to move into technical project management, for instance, and with the right support and the right client, we can make that happen. So I have got a really short video here, and there's at least 4 people over 50 on this video. I just think it'd be quite interesting for you to just hear their stories rather than me talk their stories. So I'm just going to do a quick, hang on. Can people hear that? If you press play, Sarah, because I'm not sure I shared the sound. I can hear it. Nobody can hear it. I was initially into IT for about 5 years, and then okay, so just hang on 1 second. Oops. Sarah, can I just ask you to stop the share for 1 second? Sure. And then could you reshare the slide? But this time, when you see there's a thing that comes up, when you press share the screen, on the right hand side of the menu is something that says share sound. So if you reshare and then click share sound, then it should work. Okay. And now if you press play, it should work, I think. Yeah, we can all hear that. Yeah.
I was initially into IT for about 5 years, and then because of taking care of my child who was falling sick very frequently, I had to take a career gap.
It was about 2 years I looked after my parents, so just about 3 years in total that I was off from work.
When I decided that I wanted to go back into a professional environment, looked around for returners programs.
Getting back into the psychology of work, I needed to have a job first, and the most difficult part of getting back into work was actually finding a job.
If you've been out of employment for a while or out of the sector, finding yourself back in there again, particularly as a consultant, you feel you need to feel a sense of belonging.
I wanted to return after 2 years or 3 years. I couldn't crack on any interview.
Because I had that gap in my CV, it was very, very difficult for me to actually even get an interview.
Getting a placement in a company and then feeling comfortable working there as someone who was typically older and with a different background to many of my colleagues.
When I'm looking for opportunities to start, wherein I found about the FDM.
FDM offered me the much needed flexibility.
It was 7 weeks of in-depth knowledge.
I found the entire course of several weeks useful and at times indispensable.
The variety, the breadth and the depth of the training.
Which was so vital for someone like me who has the willingness, who has the strength to go back into it.
So going through a lot of that theory again and getting upskilled and actually getting qualification was really nice as well.
Build upon my knowledge and perform at a client location is definitely coming from the training that we had.
Absolutely perfect fit because my background is in IT and my educational background is in IT.
Put your best foot forward. They are there to support you.
The opportunity afforded me to kickstart my career in a new country like I never left.
Skills can always be honed, and skills you don't have can be learned.
The returners team were absolutely amazing.
Looked after. You are listened to.
Just feeling a part of things evolving.
I would encourage any potential returner to look carefully at the FDM proposal.
It was amazing for me.
It's been brilliant.
And FDM is definitely helping.
You have every expectation of achieving a placement in the industry that you are seeking.
They're all real people, they're not actors, any of those people. And I know them all personally, actually, as they've all been through the programme, and it's so brilliant to, just sort of get reminded of their journey sometimes. And a number of them are still with us, and I can update you on where they are now.
Well, and actually on that note, the reason that I even met and know Sarah is, and I don't know if any of you remember, one of our members is a man called Stuart Morris. But Stuart got in touch with me going, I work at this amazing company. You and Sarah would get on like a house on fire. You need to have Sarah come in and talk to your members. So Stuart is now working at FDM.
Yeah, and his is a very interesting story, actually. I mean, he's very senior, 30 plus years of experience in sort of change and transformation. So, senior project manager, but could not get a job. And he actually didn't have, we work with people with much bigger gaps. I think he had about 18 months out in total. And I remember meeting him, coming through the process, and we were able to support him very quickly, actually, into a new opportunity. And he's doing a great job. And he's very, very happy to be back at work. I think he thought that was it.
Yeah.
He was not getting an interview. He was not even getting responses. So, and it's, with the digital, any skills gap that we have right now, not to be supporting people who've got years of experience, soft skills wise as well. It's a massive overlook by business. I think we all know that. So some of the challenges and support that we can provide and you should look for. Obviously, the challenges, perhaps not so relevant for this group, around childcare and relative care and the cost of that and why people can't come back. But the perception of outdated skills, and that goes both ways, actually. And I see this quite often in terms of businesses, assuming if you're a little bit older that you're not in touch and up to date. Really great that everybody's thinking about AI, because that is where everything is going at the moment. But also yourselves will also, people quite often deselect themselves where they have the capability to come back in, and it's around having that confidence to throw your hat in the ring perhaps and not deselect yourself if you don't have everything up to date. You may think I'm behind, if you're still working with Lotus, you are, but most of us have all moved on from that. So very much, having a look at yourselves as well as, am I assuming that I'm out of date? And actually it's not that hard to get back up to date, certainly with willingness and time. So that's another challenge. Rejections, you either get them, sometimes you don't get them. We make sure that in terms of when you're working with us, that any feedback we share, and obviously we work with you to improve on the areas perhaps that needed a little bit more work to kind of get that job over the line. And closed job market, it does feel like the job market's closed, that those adverts are aimed at other people and not us. And that's not always the case, but it's something we can kind of discuss a little bit later, perhaps. But it does feel that way, that the wording and so on seems to discount certain people, or we feel people have started to hide how many years they've worked somewhere or when they first started work, and things like that. You know, it does feel that those doors are shut because of that. So we have loads and loads of ways of which we support people. I mean, obviously we have our skills lab, and I'll cover that really briefly in a minute. But we have a lot of access to materials, so everybody has access to LinkedIn Learning, and that is absolutely vast, and covers all topics, including AI as well. But outside of the actual sort of training and coaching, we are always running webinars and events for people, and networking. We have lots of networks for all different communities, very important. Obviously the team, the wider community of the cohorts that you're with. So, you know, for the returners and the ex-forces, career changers, employee assistance program, and then one-to-one sessions. So if somebody needs some particular additional work, or they feel there's something they need to kind of have a little bit more intense one-to-one, they can arrange that. We've got skills lab full of coaches, so they're all there to support. So we have a lot of that, and that is ongoing for the whole time with us, whether you're in the skills lab or whether you are out on site working with a client. You have access to everything that we provide across the business. So the skills lab, everything in the skills lab is remote. We do get people to come in and meet the business. I think that's really important. It used to be a very a kind of delivery based training, and we've moved in the last 18 months to practice based, but also interactive in terms of you're working on projects or assignments whilst you're in the skills lab. So there's theory and practical. So by the time you actually go into a client, you feel like you've already done quite a lot of what you may be required to do when you go out there. And it's also working with blended teams. Blended teams are a big topic in our, like, you know, having a mix of graduates, ex-forces, older workers, returners, transitioners, changers, as it would be in the real world. That's what's going to happen when you're back in or into your new role, for instance. So it's hands-on, cross-functional. It is sprint-based, so you are working in with the agile methodology, if you like, which is where most businesses, if they haven't gone, are trying to go. So there's a mixture of fragile, agile, but very few people now working in that fully waterfall delivery, if that means, you know, step-by-step delivery for people, for businesses. So again, if you haven't worked in that environment before, you're kind of doing it on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully feel comfortable with that. And again, there's always more support to be had. The main practices, we've got 5 main practices: so software engineering, so obviously developers, testers, other technical application support, and so on. Change and transformation, a lot of the people I work with sit in that space. Going into projects, I guess there's digital transformation going on everywhere. I'm sure you're reading about it in the news. So a lot of the people I work with are in that space, coming into that. Data and analytics, so people who do have a background in data analytics or new into data and analytics would sit within there. So obviously I know somebody asked about SQL and VBA and so on, so that might be something they're interested in. IT ops, so sort of like frontline support, application support, and then RRC, risk reg and compliance, obviously the more sort of regulatory part of the business, a lot with the financial services clients in that space. So those are the practices, and they have obviously specific training and upskilling within each one. So depending on which one you're in, software engineering can be up to 13-14 weeks of upskilling, change and transformation 6 weeks, and then if you specialize a bit longer, and the others, it really is depending on the skill set you have and where you're going, and they'll look to fill the gaps. There is a way, because it's done in sprints, that you can kind of move forward more quickly, if you like. And then just briefly, the kinds of businesses we work with. So we have around 300. You'll probably recognize all these names. There's many, many more than that, but that's just a snapshot of kind of the types of businesses we work with across all those practices. And that, I think, has been a whistle-stop tour of kind of FDM and what we do. So really open to any questions that we have a look at. Transferable skills, I mean, certainly I'll just cover that one off, because it's a really big part of the types of people that we work with in my program. So, you know, obviously leadership, collaboration, or maturity, being able to navigate a corporate environment, work ethic, resilience, all of those things are transferable, and people are looking for that. So you may have worked in a completely different sphere, but you will undoubtedly have some or all of those skills. You know, good communication, problem solving, the things that we kind of take for granted and don't shout about. They're things that people are looking for. They're certainly things that the clients that I work with are looking for. That's, you know, one of the things they would want. In terms of AI, so we are building out a lot around AI at the moment. It's obviously, businesses kind of are all at different stages of AI. No one seems to be particularly advanced in it and how to use it within their business. I think because people are nervous around it. So there's a lot of work. We're doing a lot of work currently in kind of building out AI training, I guess, and how to support our clients with AI and their challenges around it. There's lots of things that come up around compliance and all sorts of things for business. So I guess, you know, we're still learning. It changes all the time as well, of course, it's evolving every day. We're still learning on that as well, but we're building out a program around to train people up in AI so they can support our clients in AI. In terms of the best training to do, obviously I work with our training. I would consider that some of the best. But if you are looking outside, I mean, there are many platforms that you could use. I mean, you know, Udemy, one of them. Quite often they have a lot of free courses. LinkedIn have some free courses. They have a lot of stuff on AI as well. I was doing some stuff on it the other day. But I am not, there are many boot camps. I see a lot of people who do those. I think I can't really recommend which boot camps you should be going to, because I'm not familiar enough with them. So I'm going to be honest around that. But there is a lot of, I know Udemy does have some very good training. I know a lot of people who have done it. There are things like Firebrand. They do some, and I have worked with them in the past. They do training, and then, you know, there are a lot of coding boot camps out there, but I can't actually recommend on that one. No. So what would the way it would work? We assess everybody that's interested in the program. So you'll have a chat with one of my team. They'll just ask some questions around suitability for you and suitability for the business. And then you'll have a kind of an interview day. It's only 2 interviews. It says interview day, it's 2 interviews. And then if you're successful in that, there'll be a 5-minute presentation. But we then would make you an offer after that assessment, effectively employ you. So if we offer you a place, we will employ you full time. But there is no cost. There's no cost for the training. And you don't owe any money should you leave. So, you know, there's no penalty, if you like. Yeah, so we wouldn't be, absolutely. We don't know what role, and I think this is what I like about the way that we do it, actually, and it, for other people it might not work. We don't know where you're going to end up at the end, because obviously when you come in, we don't necessarily have a role lined up for you. What we do is we look at you and your skills and transferable skills and think, can we get this person a role? Can we help this person back into work? If we think so, then we're going to, it's our risk to take. We will employ you and we will get you that role. And for me, it's very much, and for the team, obviously, it's very much for the right person, for the right role. That's the key to making it work. So I always ask people to be open-minded. Don't look at the business a lot. Yeah, I'm guilty of the same. I came back and went, I would want to work in financial services. That's my background. I now spend a lot of time saying to people, don't look at the company. They're all big companies anyway. Don't look at the company, look at the role. Look at the role. Is this role going to give me what I need? Is it going to take me to where I want to get to? Is it a stepping stone or is it where I want to be ultimately? You know, look at the role. Is it the right fit? And get that, you know, get back in and get going on it. So flexibility, obviously people have different responsibilities. Our clients are full time, and they are looking for that. But certainly they all offer, and they offer different levels of flexibility. So the other reason we can't guarantee flexibility is people who do have adjustments needed. If they could, people up front about, we can say what we can and can't work with. But ultimately, you're going to work in on client side, so it will be within their flexible working policies, and that varies. So some people, if it's childcare or other kinds of care, it might be that you say, every day I need to do, but then I will come back online. Or obviously hybrid working is very, very commonplace. So there's lots of working in the office, working from home. People can build around that as well. But in terms of what that means for each person, I won't know, because we don't know where you're going. It is assignment driven, and time, the amount of time people spend varies. So we don't do short assignments. We're not doing 1 week assignments or anything like that. So typically I'd expect people to go for at least 6 months in the first one, but I have people who've been in the same client for 4 or 5 years, and they just, that project finishes, they've obviously got fantastic domain knowledge, they're kind of embedded in the client, and they'll move them into another project. So it can vary. So you could be with somebody for 18 months, come back, go and do 2 years somewhere else. Obviously, there's the option to internalize with the client after you've worked with us for 2 years. You don't have to have worked with that client for 2 years, but there's an option that then they can internalize you. It's completely free of charge to the clients. It's why they work with us. It's why we get the opportunities, I think, because for them, it's a no risk hire. They get to see people for at least a year, up to 2 before they then have to internalize them. We take all the risk on that. But yes, it is assignment based, and but you're not going to be moving around. You're going to be on, in your location, kind of. We say an hour, up to an hour commute for our mature consultants. Change and transformation, obviously, very, very busy. Every company seems to be in some kind of digital transformation, reinvention. So I'm sure you're all aware of, obviously, Marks and Spencer's crippling cyber attack. That will have certainly speeded up perhaps some businesses' thought processes on what they need to do to be more robust and get off some legacy systems potentially. Change and transformation. The other one on the sort of the more technical side, data and analytics. If I was thinking about a change now and I had any kind of background in that, I would be upskilling in data and analytics. Obviously leads into AI as well. So those are the and senior software engineers, that people are looking for that experience in their droves. But those are the main ones I think I see on the sort of outside change and transformation: software engineering, data analytics, and AI. Everyone's looking. They're not kind of looking in the I need an AI expert. We're not seeing that demand. Everyone's kind of looking at how do we just start to get on top of that? It'd be good if we could get a bit of experience in that. So, but the data side and the analysis side, hot topic. Oh, so yeah, of course. I mean, part of the FDM model is that people come through, work with us for 2+ years, and then, go into a permanent role if they want one. I think over time, and actually when I came, I was like, why are we, they're fantastically experienced then. Why would we be letting them go off to the client? Why aren't we keeping them as really experienced consultants? So I've got, over 60% of my population are 3 years plus with us. And it really depends what people want to do. So I think a lot of people, especially if you've always had a permanent role, which I had before, well, I do now, but if you've always had a permanent role, I suppose that makes you feel safe. But then once they start doing that, I really liked working on a project for a couple of years, and then actually taking that knowledge and going to another project, and delivering there maybe for 6 months, a year, and then moving sectors. I think that's the beauty of it. So but then people they'll go permanent, or once they've come back in and they've got 2 years of experience, they're obviously very marketable, they're up to date, they're current, and they can find their own opportunity. So yeah, it's a real mixture. actually of where people go. Most, I would say, go perm or stay on, but some do move on. Some it's not right for them, you know, and they'll find out quite quickly whether it's right for them or not.
Amazing. I almost want to ask, what do you do to protect yourself? Like, as in, because obviously if someone was to go off and try and source this training and have the comfort of knowing it's up to date and have the comfort of then being able to land themselves a full-time role, you know, how do you stop people abusing it, like coming to you do the 13 weeks of training and then
You can't.
Wow, so that you're taking on a lot of risk yourself.
We take on the risk. We like to, you know, it's around integrity. So I think most people, I mean, certainly some people do. Some people will come in. They're the minority for sure. They'll come in because I think they value what we're doing. You know, my team are really good. You know, they get to know everybody. They work with them. They want to get them into the right role. So there's this huge sort of support, and the people that you're kind of coming through the process with. You know, everybody's rooting for everybody. So if you come in with the intention to get the upskilling and go, there's nothing we can do about that. But it's the minority.
And you're paying them whilst they're getting all this training.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck finding that anywhere else, I would say. Not many organisations are prepared to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it works, so we wouldn't be doing it if it didn't. So it works. It works as a business. Obviously, we're a business, not a charity, so it works for commercially. And the experience sides, you know, we love what we do in terms of helping those people back. But obviously, you know, they become senior consultants. You know, they're a real asset to the guys that we put them in with. Yeah, so when you're in training, you are on a different salary. You're on a training salary. It's a kind of a flat rate for the sort of 6 weeks or so you're in training. And I think that's around 20,000. Yeah. So you're on a training salary whilst you're in there. I think it's 20.5. And then the salary that we offer, so we'll make an offer not knowing where you're going to go. And anyway, we don't pay by sectors. Obviously, some people say, well, if I go into financial services, I'll get more. Obviously, we don't know where you're going to go, but then if you go into a charity, we're going to pay you less. We don't. So we'll pay, I guess it's a mean average around that skill set and level. So we'll make an offer at the time you're coming through. Throughout that 2 years, and certainly with this type of population, people tend to move quite quickly. So once they're back in, and they'll you know, throw everything at it normally, they will progress quite quickly, so we can do salary reviews throughout that time if your role is changing and you're kind of growing in responsibilities and so on. And then obviously when you go perm with the client, you're going to be whatever they're paying for that role, and we don't compete with them, so we're not going to pay you more than the client's going to pay you if it's a permanent opportunity at the end, because obviously would say no to the client.
Yeah.
Rather stay with them.
No, that's understandable.
So you could go, I mean, we have people come in, you know, 40, and then I've got people at the other end 90 plus, you know, certainly people at the senior consultant end.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's
almost
in terms of depending on your role, your level.
Totally.
If you're changing, and I think this is the challenge for a real change. For instance, if you're a nurse and you say I want to do coding, you're going to be competing with graduates who are doing coding. So it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Of course you can do it. Potentially you're not going to offer a lot more to the client than somebody else who may have also done a degree in computing. So there's a balance there, and you know, and that's one of the things I'm trying to, because I feel obviously you'll bring other things to the table, problem solving, communication, being able to work with tech and business and those kinds of things. So there will be some extra that you could say would command a bigger salary. It's just a bit harder when it's a complete career change. So Margaret, I've got lots of accountants in the programme. It's a really good transferable skill, and business analysis is certainly one of the roles that they can kind of move into fairly seamlessly, and also projects, because I mean I've got a finance background as well, and you do so many projects when you're working in accounting. So you can either sort of pivot into project management or PMO, project management officer, or business analysis. So for that, you'd come through in change and transformation. That would be the stream for you. And in the training, the 6 weeks training, that would be covering off working around projects. There is business analysis in there. They go through various technical things and platforms. Excel, you'll be very familiar with that, I'm sure. Yeah, so it's a definitely route forward. We do. I mean, we're a sort of a tech consultancy predominantly, so that those are the roles that we're putting people into. We do see things around in the marketing sphere, so people might want a communications manager, but it'll be kind of on a project basis. So it'll be, we need somebody to roll out this strategy, that kind of thing. And we don't have direct, so businesses aren't coming to us for salespeople. They're coming to us for people who can deliver technical or business projects, or coding or whatever that might be. Oh yeah, so we do a little bit in New Zealand. It's a smaller region. The UK is our biggest region. London's HQ. So we've got offices obviously in Sydney. They support into New Zealand. They are less developed in terms of the mature worker, to be honest. So we're still rolling that out globally, if you like.